The driver, though, also wasn't wearing a seatbelt. I'm gonna go drive a 1,000 horsepower car without a seatbelt, with a target top. Yeah, that. Back again. Not a good topic today. Have you ever wondered what your mechanic does on those test drives? I feel the need for speed. That story is coming up right after the break. I don't know if you know this, but I actually now have a merch store, and if you haven't checked out the video description below my videos, then you're missing out. Currently, I've got a pack full of movie quote t-shirts, and more styles are being added every month, and new items are in development right now. So have a look, see if there's anything you like, and wear it with pride. The link is in the video description below. You would think that here in 2023, everybody knows that there are cameras everywhere. We see it on social media all the time, people doing crazy shit and not realizing they're being filmed. Dash cams, traffic cameras, people film on their iPhones, security cameras in front of pretty much every business that lines every road, any given road, anywhere in America. So it's hard to escape the watching eyes of HD security cameras, but people still act a fool. People seem to forget this, and while most mechanics can be trusted to take care with the customer's car, there's always a few irresponsible people in any trade, not just mechanics, any trade. But this mechanic probably thought that he wouldn't get caught because there was no dash cam in this car. Wrong. Good God. But unfortunately for him, there was a Supra fan driving around, just a random guy, and who noticed that this beautiful Supra was driving down the road, and he just started to film, just trying to catch a glimpse of the car. Thank God he did. Otherwise, the owner of this car might not have known the truth about this incident. Maybe the mechanic will make up a story or whatever. But this past week, the interweb lit up with a video of this 15th anniversary 1,000 horsepower turbo Mark IV Supra on this test drive. Apparently, one of the shop's mechanics where it was being worked on took it out for a test drive, apparently on cold tires, on a cold day. Yeah. 2 rookie mistakes, okay. I might add that the temperatures in Denver this week have been close to freezing. So you got cold tires, cold street surfaces, and 1,000 horsepower, presumably on ultra high performance summer tires, which do not do well in such conditions. This is a recipe for disaster. Did he not learn anything from the crash that killed Paul Walker? Very similar circumstances. Cold tires and doing hoonigan shit. And car got wrecked. The car was at a shop called Bespoke Motorsports in Englewood, Colorado. What I did find online is that they've been in business for quite a while, and they seem to work on a variety of high-end sports cars of multiple brands. So they look legit, right? There's nothing to suggest that this is an ongoing thing or it's happened many times before or anything like that. So I presume the shop has insurance, but it remains to be seen if that insurance covers reckless driving by a shop employee. If it is indeed deemed reckless driving, that's not for me to say. The attorneys will work it out and see what happens. But in the video, the Supra driver whips around an innocent motorist, cuts around in front of it like this, and because of the violent move, the car snapped back in the opposite direction and then swerved hard right, then it hit a concrete barricade, flew over that, and through a chain link fence and smashed into a parked train. Now, if that would have been an oncoming train, that guy would probably be mincemeat. The driver, though, also wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
Are you stupid or something?
I'm gonna go drive a 1,000 horsepower car without a seatbelt, with a target top. Yeah, that, somehow he survived. I would say he might be careful about brain damage, but I think this guy probably is brain damaged anyway. Anyway, it's yet another reminder that for all the great and responsible shops that exist, there are always people that cannot be trusted to act responsibly. And now the owner of this Supra is without a car. I'm doing this video because the subject is timely to me. Coincidentally, last week I just got my R35 GTR back from major service with my mechanic. Now, here's what I mean by it's timely for me. So I drove 70 miles through a canyon road in the rain, all the way over to Temecula Nissan, because the only Nissan certified GTR mechanic in Southern California works there. His name is Chris Heimberger. He's been servicing my car for 7 to 8 years, and I trust the guy. I have implicit trust with this guy. Now, there is a Nissan dealer 5 miles from me, not even that, but I won't go there because a previous GTR tech once dropped a GTR off the lift. So I make the long drive because I know that I can trust my mechanic over the hills. And then it got me thinking, how many other shops have I had trusted with my car? Back in the days, that was another story. But when my transmission needing service of my GTR, I went to my Nissan transmission expert over at D-Sport, about 15 miles away from me. He took good care of the car. He test drove the car appropriately. I have a dash cam in the car. I played back the footage. I know there was no tomfoolery and all that kind of stuff. But I know that neither of these shops would let some irresponsible person test drive the car recklessly. Nevertheless, I have a hardwired dash cam and multiple GPS devices in my car so I can monitor my car's movements. That's just me. But even with these measures, there's always the possibility of a rogue employee who gets his hands on the keys while the boss is out for lunch and goes for a harmless little pull. And if the worst should happen, I have data and video no matter where the car is or where the car went. So I have the footage and the data to back up a lawsuit if needs be, but I've never been put in that position, thank God. So back to the folks at Bespoke Motorsports. Now, I'm not going to point a finger at them in any way, and here's why. I'm pretty sure that the supervisors or the bosses or their owners said to the mechanic to go drive a customer's irreplaceable 15th anniversary low mile 1,000 horsepower turbo Supra recklessly on cold summer tires. So now the question, who is going to be made liable? Most likely the shop's insurance provider will be sued. The owner of the shop might be sued depending on how big his policy is. So that's a double whammy there. Then of course, the mechanic will likely get sued because the insurance company will want to be made whole because of the mechanic's negligence or whatever caused the accident, reckless driving, whatever they're going to call it. But that's for their attorneys to figure out. But Supras in this condition are fetching $225,000 to more than $300,000. And I'm sure the owners will want full compensation for the fair market value. That's going to take a lot of time and negotiation. But I'm glad the mechanic driver survived, but he's in for a long and arduous ride. While he will likely suffer extreme financial hardship, perhaps he will have learned something that he can carry with him with the rest of his life. Now, I don't blame people for their mistakes, I really don't, but they must pay for their mistakes. And in this case, it's going to be very costly. And so nobody wins in this incident. And of course, this isn't the first time we've seen mechanics driving customers' cars recklessly, right? Here are some other examples. Now, it's happened to the best of us. I remember many years ago, there was a guy who used to work for a very high-profile speed shop here in Irvine, California. I won't mention their name because they're still in existence. And somehow he got connected to Paul Walker, and Paul left his R34 GTR with this guy to have his car worked on over at the shop. So we're talking again about a very big and reputable speed shop. And so it was a very legitimate thing. That's what he intended to do with it. But at some point, he instead took it to the street races here in somewhere in Southern California. I think it was down in San Diego. And as I recall, something got broken on the transmission and he put a ton of miles out of the car and it was just a hot mess. So the same guy damaged the front bumper of my movie Supra, and that's when I cut ties with this guy. But he was supposed to be a close friend and he was just a artist. So how can you protect yourself really? Well, there are many ways. Start with a hardwired dash cam, hardwired so that valets and mechanics cannot disable it easily. Sure, you can pull the memory card out of it, but you're going to have a backup system to that. And the backup system is going to be a trackable GPS device that tells you the exact location, the speed, and all that kind of stuff. Not one that plugs into the OBD2 port, because most people know anything about the cars can pull it out of the port in 10 seconds and then you have nothing. It could also help you recover your car if your car is ever stolen, so you should do that. A low jack, you can add a low jack to your car. Now, I know there's a lot of expense for this to protect your car, but your car is a bigger expense, right? Make sure that the shop owners know that you have GPS and a dash cam in the car. It keeps everybody honest, including the car owner. It also helps the shop from getting screwed by customers who said, oh, you did that damage, right? Do your research on the shop before you turn over your car keys. That's another great way to gauge how responsible they are. Talk to some of the customers, take a look at their Facebook pages, take a look at their Instagram, take a look at their Better Business scores, all that kind of stuff. And try to to pick a shop with an in-house dyno if you're doing work on the engine that needs to be tested out. That's the best way to data log at full throttle and setting idle parameters so the car does not have to be on the street to do first gear through fourth gear pulls on a street. But of course I realize if you're tuning a car that will be seeing street driving, that doesn't mean doing 0 to 140 pulls on a city street. That's for the owner to go do on his own time. Street test drive should be under normal driving habits, like pulling up to a stoplight to see how the idle settles back down, driving away from the light so it doesn't chug a lug a lug a lug, steady cruise, roll onto the throttle, tip into the throttle, tip into boost, all that kind of stuff. And that can be done on a dyno or on the street at low speed. You do not need to go whipping around other cars and go full throttle on cold tires in winter. There's no reason to be doing a first through fourth pull on a city street, especially in any traffic of any kind. Save that stuff for the dyno. Ideally, if the mechanic wants to take it for a street ride, it's a good idea for you to go with him, so you can be sitting next to him, or he could be driving with you, sitting on the other side, and he's got his laptop and all that stuff, and you do some pulls and he's looking at the data and all that kind of stuff. I've did that with my GTR a couple times. That's the way I'm accustomed to doing it. So what happens now with the situation? Attorneys get involved, most likely because I'm pretty sure the shop will not agree with the owner's valuation of the car. So there's going to be a big argument about what it's really worth. But here's evidence that a similar car just sold for $300,000 just a few months ago. So if this guy is getting offers of, oh, well, we'll give you $80,000 for the car, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's just a bad situation for all parties, and I have sympathy for everybody involved. But lessons should have been learned all around. Protect yourself, whether you're a shop owner or a mechanic who needs to act responsibly. Well, of course, if you truly trust your shop, then roll the dice. If you have GPS tracking and a dash cam, you have enough evidence to hold the shop accountable for any misdeeds. So if you feel comfortable with that alone, then go for it. But remember, it's your property, and you can choose the level of protection. The size of the shop is no indication of the integrity of the owners or their employees. Remember that. I've seen plenty high roller shops that are absolutely just straight up thieves. There's a lot of litigation going on right now. Of course, most shops are very trustworthy, but Ronald Reagan once said, trust but verify. And I'm going to add another line, protect yourself. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time.